And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a Bookish Moment. I am Sarah Burr.
And I am JC Kenny, and it's a beautiful day in Indianapolis, Indiana. The sun is out, the birds are singing, and we have a fabulous guest with us today for a bookish moment. So, Sarah, I think it's time to get bookish.
Yes, and I'm actually very jealous, JC, that you have a beautiful day to be enjoying this. Our weather here in New York is a little more gloomy, but it's
Oh,
definitely much brighter now that we have Nan Reinhardt here
yes.
to celebrate the release of her new book. Nan, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell our readers a little bit about yourself and your big news?
Um, my big news is I have the first book of the Weaver Sisters series, More Stories from River's Edge, called Home to River's Edge. It's Jasmine and Eli's story, and it's so far readers seem to be really having a good time with it. I am a writer in the Midwest, and I've been writing, well, my whole life basically, but published since 2012, and this is book number maybe 12 or 13, I think, that's
Nice.
out. So that's I'm not other than that, I'm not all that fascinating.
Well, I mean, this is the start of a new series, but it's very much a familiar setting for folks who have been reading your work. I would love to know more, and especially for folks who may be tuning in and meeting you for the first time, to know more about the setting of River's Edge and how you decided to kind of keep building these stories from different people in the town, different families in the town, and how they're all like interwoven together.
River's Edge started because I am in love with the town of Madison, Indiana, which is a little tiny town down on the Ohio River in southern Indiana. And it's just the most beautiful place. And it's full of history and wonderful festivals and shops. And it's right on the river. So a lot of the life in the town happens, because of the river. And so when Julie asked me if I would be willing to write a series about brothers, I said, well, how about a winery series? And they're like, sure, let's do that. And I said, is it okay if my winery is set in Indiana instead of California? I wasn't sure how they'd feel about that because Indiana is really not known for wine. But they were all about it. And so the first series that happened in River's Edge was the Flaherty Brothers, Borash Brothers Winery series. And the town just kind of grew from there. And each series that's come after, the Lang brothers, and now this one. And I'm working on series number 4 right now.
Wow.
More stories from River's Edge. Um, they have come from the people who've been secondary characters in the previous books, and so it's been really cool to put in these little, hints that maybe this is the next family or the next group of people that are going to get stories. And everybody in the town has a story, and so there are characters in each book and you kind of follow what they're doing, but then the secondary characters in each book they get a story. Their story kind of sort of continues, and they may not get a book, but everybody in the town has a story. So it's been a lot of fun. I've had a ball creating this town, and I know it's not what a real small town is probably like, but it's fiction, so who cares? So
I mean, I absolutely love the idea. And for folks who are joining us live, we're displaying a beautiful book map of River's
Mhm.
Edge that you can kind of see just how warm and just like the world that you've created. And I just think that it's one of the neatest things that I've heard. And especially where, in earlier books, you're kind of teasing out different characters who are getting introduced. So I'm wondering if you can shed a little bit of light on how the Weaver sisters came to be the leads in their own series.
well, the Weaver sisters began in the last series, the Lang brothers. The Lang brothers all ride jet skis or like wave runners on the river, and they store them at Weaver's Landing Marina, and that's just another business in the town. And but I thought, well, it might be fun to have the Weaver sisters be in one of the books. So at the end of book 2, Max's story, two of the sisters take the heroine out to the showboat that's out on the river to have a reunion with the hero. And they just were, I don't know, they were just kind of cool sisters, I thought. And I really thought that having them be triplets would be something fun and different. I have some friends who are identical triplets, 3 sisters. And I just thought, what a cool idea to make these sisters triplets, because building that bond between them would be, maybe a little different than building a bond between other people, other family members. So that's how they came about. They just started talking to me and saying, hey, tell our story, tell our stories. So I did.
They're definitely.
So you're the sister you're introducing as kind of the main character in this particular story is Jazz.
Yeah.
So tell us all a little bit about Jazz.
Well, Jazz has been fascinated with politics her whole life. She's just one of those people who thinks politics is awesome and fun. And she worked in the State House up in Indianapolis for a summer as an intern. And she got very well acquainted with their district Congress people, and began working for one of them after she graduated from college, and moved to Washington, and eventually became this congresswoman. And by the way, there's no District 11 in Indiana. I made that.
No, not anymore.
Only 9.
There used to be.
Not anymore. There's just 9. So it was, fine to go ahead and create this political entity that doesn't really exist. And she goes to work for this woman, and she just has the greatest respect for this woman. And she's so excited to be in Washington and be a part of all of that action inside the Beltway when she becomes the Congresswoman's chief of staff. And but the story opens when she has been fired because the Congresswoman is misbehaving, and she discovers that, and she just says, we got to fix this. And the Congresswoman just treats her like she's some little rube from the country and doesn't understand politics at all, even though she's been in it for almost 10 years. So she left. And when she comes back home, she has just driven away from Washington, D.C. and her whole life there that she's been living for 10 years. And she went to her boyfriend, who was a lobbyist, and told him everything that was going on. And he had no sympathy for her. And they broke up, and she sold her house, and she's just like completely at odds with what, she's adrift. That's a good word. She's adrift. And she runs into literally her old high school boyfriend, who is also adrift because he's mourning the loss of his fiance who died a couple of years earlier. So the two of them are going to help each other build new lives. And as it turns out, together. So
nice.
I love the setup, and it just it gives you like all these warm like new beginnings feels that like no matter where you are in life, it's not too late to change direction and be happy. And before we talk a little bit more about your characters, I just want to say a warm welcome to folks who are joining us live and tuning in on this bookish moment with us. We've got Spotlight Star, Mizan, our farmhouse reader, and Jenny. Thank you guys for being here live. For other folks who may not have said hi in the chat, feel free to drop any questions that you have for Nan. We're happy to take your questions. And before we also go a little bit further, I do want to highlight this wonderful giveaway that Nan is doing for our bookish moment today. I was saying to Nan before the show, like her giveaways are just always so fun and so generous. We've got a signed copy of one of your River's Edge books. You have a River's Edge notebook, which can you tell folks what a River's Edge notebook is?
A River's Edge notebook is just a little notebook about this big, but on the front of it has that map that you showed earlier.
Oh, cool.
Beautiful. So folks, again, this beautiful map, if you'd like a little notebook with that shows off that amazing world, make sure that you're going to be entering into the giveaway. We'll have the magic word. Let's do the magic word right now. Yeah. Nan, would you like to tell folks what they should type into the YouTube chat if they would like to enter for a signed River's Edge book, a River's Edge notebook, a handmade necklace, I believe, and there was even an Amazon gift card in there.
Yep, a $10 Amazon gift card and some other
Wow.
little fun stuff that I just, picked up, swag and things. So I can tell him the word.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, the word is home.
Home. Perfect for the feelings that that Home at River's Edge really brings forth.
Yeah.
I would love, so my question for you, Nan, when you are writing a book, your characters have such cool jobs and careers, and just like very, and they're all very different from all of the books that you've written. And my question is more from a place of, please tell me your secrets of how do you write those so authentically? How, like, what kind of research goes into, figuring out how a chief of staff operates, or what skills, or what the, even the, career path or trajectory is? I'm curious to know how you do your research when it comes to the careers of your characters.
Well, as far as the careers for the Weaver sisters, Jazz being in Washington was the main focus for her. Not really so much for job, but that she lived and worked in Washington. And my son is a national security advisor, and so he spends a lot of, analyst, not advisor, national security analyst. And so he does spend a lot of time in Washington. So if I needed anything tell me about Washington, I could ask him. But I Google the heck out of everything. And one of the things that really, one of my favorite shows is The West Wing, and I've seen every episode at least 3 times. And so there's a little bit of knowledge that comes from just, absorbing narrative any way you can. And The West Wing is one way that I absorb narrative. And but I Google and Google and Google. No kidding. If somebody saw my Google history, they would think I was either, crazy or, I don't know. So I just look everything up. And one kind of silly example is that in Max's book, in Falling for the Doctor in the Lang Brothers series, she does a tracheostomy on the side of the road. The heroine does. I had no idea how to do that. So I just Googled it. And you know what? Google tells you how to do it. It's amazing. Right where to cut, what to do. Da, 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 da. I
Is
was
that
so
the one
excited.
when someone's airway is blocked and you have to like
You cut their throat and you, yes.
Mhm.
And I had no idea that you could learn something like that from Google. And I even passed it to my daughter-in-law's mom, who's a nurse, and said, what do you think? And she's like, you nailed it. I'm like, wow. Oh, and then Jenny's, or Daz's sister Jo, whose book is coming up next in August, is a boat mechanic. And I'm really lucky. My husband can fix anything, including a boat. And so when I needed something to be wrong with an engine, or, tell me what would make this yacht stop, he was like, well, this would do it. So it's been, I think it's just a matter of being willing to go out there and look for the information. And it's all out there. So,
I really, being able to also use the resources in your life, like the folks who have that experience, I think is always such a blessing as a writer, to be able to be like, hey, like, do you think this is feasible, or is this how this works? And you could get a very simple yes or no, or you could just be in for a 2-hour lecture on how things work.
You're going to get one or the other. It's sort of funny. I texted the guy who owns the place where we have our lake cottage, and he has boat storage way back in the back of this park where our mobile home is. And the Weavers do boat storage, and they're getting ready to build a new boat storage barn in the book I'm working on right now. So I sent Ken a note and I said, hey, how big is a boat storage barn, and how much does it cost a square foot to build it? He sent me back a note and said this. So I was like, great. So now I have that information and I can use it in my new book. So it's kind of crazy, but it's lovely to have people who know things, because I don't know much, but I learn a lot from people.
It's all, I tell people all the time, especially in my job. It's like, I don't know, but I know where to find the answer. So, and speaking of finding the answer, one of the things I would appreciate if you could take us a couple of minutes and just kind of tell us a little bit more about River's Edge, the community. You've shared with us already that it's on the Ohio River, cute little tourist town. Can you tell us a little bit maybe about the history, or what some of the locales are, you just mentioned there's a new boat shop coming up that's being built. So tell us a little bit more about the town itself.
Well, the town is very definitely dependent upon tourism for its economy. That's the thing that drives the town's economy. So there's a winery, but there's Max Diner, which is a place everybody hangs out, and he's a cordon bleu chef who came back to Indiana to open this diner. There's the river walk along the river where everybody just sort of gathers, and whenever they have an event like the Red Bud Festival or the Halloween festival or whatever, it all happens down there on the river walk. There's a lot of history in the town. There's the Warner Mansion, and then up above the town there's Warner College, which is named after the Warners, who were the family that started the town. There's inns. There's a brand new hotel that was made out of the old cotton mill factory that was there, and that really happened in Madison. They took the old cotton mill that was all falling apart and turned it into a hotel. So I actually did it before they did it. So I believe they read one of my books and said, "Oh, we should do that with our broken down cotton mill." But
Yeah.
anyway, so there's always something going on, and they even have their own radio station, which is going to show up in the Weaver Sisters books. So it's a very busy little town. Everybody knows everybody else, sort of. And so I think that's probably more fiction than fact. My friend Liz, who lives in a small town, keeps telling me that doesn't really happen. I'm like, I don't care. This is fiction.
Well, speaking of fiction, Nan, here's an opportunity to share some facts. We've got a question from Farmhouse Reader, friend of the show. A couple of questions. First off, let me just read them both to you. First question is, are you interested in winemaking? And second question, are there any actual wineries in Indiana, and what kind of wine are they producing?
Oh, okay. Well, I am not interested in wine making. However, I'm very interested in wine drinking.
Yes.
There are a lot of wonderful wineries in Indiana. I want to say there's somewhere between 50 and 70 wineries in Indiana. And one interesting Indiana winery fact is that the very first wine that was ever exported from the United States came from Indiana. There were farmers along the Ohio River who came from Switzerland and planted vines and started exporting wine after they started making it. So we are a winemaking community. However, because of our climate, there's only a few different grapes we can grow. So we do really well with Traminette, the Traminette grape, which is the official wine of Indiana. Traminette, it's kind of a dry to sweet white wine. We can grow Sauvignon Blanc, we can grow Riesling, we can grow Cab Franc, which is a red wine. But if we're going to make dry reds, we have to import the grapes. And so those usually come from California because they grow great grapes out there. And most Indiana winemakers do a really decent job with dry reds. We just don't grow them here. So does that answer it all? I'm not sure.
I just learned a ton. I had no idea that, because when you had made your comment earlier about, a winery set in Indiana, I was like, are there wineries there? But that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. And not to get too far off topic here, but there is a kind of the granddaddy sorts of wineries in Indiana. It's a place called Oliver Winery. It's located just north of Bloomington, Indiana. It's been around since 1974, I think. When my wife and I were on vacation in Florida a couple of weeks ago, we were in a local, liquor store there. They carry Oliver Winery. So we got a kick out of seeing a local winery there all the way down in Florida. So yes,
fabulous. Yeah, I love Oliver's Gewürztraminer. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a great summer wine.
Yeah, they do an amazing Camelot mead, also a wine based on honey. Which Sarah, you know that because you have a lot of your Court of Mystery characters drink mead. So anyway. Back to River's Edge.
I have a question regarding our hero in Home to River's Edge, Elias, and his backstory I found particularly fascinating because, the fact that he was engaged, he was ready to like settle down and have this life, and then his fiance passed away. It's like that's a very, very sad situation, and to find and to have that be your platform to then go find love again. I'm very curious, how did Elias come to have, or I guess how did Elias come to be who he is?
He's Elias grew up in River's Edge. His fiance that passed away came to River's Edge as a teacher in the high school. She was an artist and she was teaching art. And he ran into her one day coming out of the tea shop, and literally ran into her and spilled tea all over her. And he was madly in love with this woman, and she had an aneurysm in the house they were building. She was pretending to cook at a stove that wasn't in yet, and just turned around and dropped dead. And so all of everything that he was looking forward to having in a future was gone. And he had just been made, right before that happened, he had just been made CEO of his family's construction company. And so he's put all of his focus into the company, because he just couldn't bear to have a life outside of it. And he's been going to grief therapy, and he promised the therapist that he would go up to the house. He quit working on the house, didn't go near it again after she passed there. And he promised the therapist he'd go up. He did that in March, and now it's New Year's Eve as the story opens, and he's sitting at the end of the road trying to work up the courage to go up there. And he says to his fiance, who's dead, of course, give me a sign that I'm supposed to go up there. And Jasmine runs into the back of him. And he's like, oh my God, you're the sign. And so that's how the two of them come together over that. And I really tried hard to make sure that everybody understood how much he loved this woman. And not that it meant that he couldn't love Jasmine too, but that was a part of who he was. And if she was going to love him, she was going to have to be okay with the fact that Amy was in his life before. Because I don't think it's real for you to think that someone could love someone that much and then suddenly not love them and love someone else. Mm-hmm. So his love for Amy continued into his relationship with Jasmine, which that was a little hard, but I felt like it was important.
I think it was beautifully done. And you're right. Like, it was real. And those types of emotions, and I think are just very, very beautiful to connect with. And the fact that you're highlighting, grief counseling, and, you're taking all these things that are very important for people to realize that it's okay not to feel okay in the romance setting. I think that that's a very poignant and wonderful thing that you're doing to bring those types of issues to the foreground, instead of having him forgetting everything of his past and falling head over heels for the woman in front of him. I think that it's a very beautiful way to portray it.
Oh, thank you. It's an emotional book, I think. That's particularly because of Elias's past.
And Elias and Jazz have a past together as well. So it's not like they're total strangers. And I'm wondering if you can tell our viewers a little bit, as we only have 5 minutes left, but I wonder if you could kind of tease with our viewers a little bit about, like, how do these two exactly know each other, and why are they being brought together at this particular moment?
They dated all through high school. And right before the senior prom, he broke up with her because he found out that if he went to the prom with this other girl, he had a chance of being prom queen, which was shallow and stupid and very 17. And so she never forgave him for that. I mean, and neither did her sisters. Her sisters were really worse about it than she was. And so for him to be the first person she hits, literally, when she gets into town, was just sort of like, she just couldn't even believe it, because here she is. And when she hit the back of his car, she's sitting in her car pounding on the steering wheel, ranting about, oh great, now I've hit the back of a Mercedes Benz, and she's just enraged. And she opens the door, and it takes her a few minutes to realize whose car she's hit. And he's sort of just like bowled over that she's the one that hit him. And so, you know, the whole thing was, and he even apologized to her. I'm sorry that I did that to you. And she's like, that's okay. I dumped cheese fries in your lap the next day, so it was all okay with me. So I mean, it was a quick, easy way to show what they had before without going into a lot of emotion about it, because they were 17 when that happened. And I think I stopped. And so, you know, it was a good way to fix it.
Mm. It's a really fun backstory because, you know, you have so much, they have history, but yet they have changed so much during the years that they've been apart. And we didn't get to talk a whole lot about Jazz's sisters, Joanna and Jennifer. And I'm hoping that you can tell us how our viewers are going to be able to learn more about the Weaver sisters as a whole, because this is Jazz's book. However, you have got a new one coming out in August, and I'm pretty sure that book 3 is not far behind. Is that correct?
It's coming out in October. Joe's story is August, I think August 30th. It's at the end of August. And then Jenny's story comes in at Christmas time. But you get a little tease of both their stories. Not Joe so much, except you just learn that Joe is the boat mechanic, and that she thinks she prefers older men because she got really badly hurt by a younger man. So, and then the hero of book 3 happens along at the end of book 1, because he shows up at the high school reunion, and he's the nerd who got hot over the last 15 years. And he and Jenny have their story at Christmas time. So anyway,
that there's so much to look forward to, it sounds like. And I can't, it'll be so wonderful to see another community within River's Edge grow. And it sounds like, though, that you mentioned that you have another River's Edge group that you're working on. So before maybe you tease us a little bit about that, I just want to remind folks who are watching live that now is your chance to enter the word home into the YouTube chat to enter in for Nan's very generous giveaway. And we'll be drawing our winner in just a couple minutes. But Nan, tell us about what is next for you. Where can folks find you to just like stay connected and follow along with book news? And you know, what else do we have to look forward to for your books?
My website is nanreinhardt.com, and everything about all the books is always there. The next series coming up is the Walker family, which is Elias's brother and cousins. And so you've already met them all, and they've each got their own news story coming up. I'm everywhere as Nan Reinhardt. I mean, you know, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's all at Nan Reinhardt. So I try to make it as easy as possible for people to find me. But everything's on the website, and I'm also on the Thule website. So all the books from all the River's Edge books are there at thulepublishing.com. So that's it. And I do I blog every Sunday, and sometimes, mostly it's about writing, but sometimes it's about other stuff too. It just depends on what's going on in my life that weekend. So I blog every Sunday, and on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I spotlight other authors, which I love doing, bringing them on as guests to my blog, because it's so much fun to introduce people to authors that I already love. So, and Jim's going to be there on Thursday.
Yes, I am so excited.
JC's going to be there on Thursday. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah,
I can attest that it's a really fun experience. I was lucky to be on earlier this year. So we've got nanreinhardt.com or at Nan Reinhardt, wherever you are on social media. That's the great way to go. Makes it super easy, Nan. Very, very smart. But for our giveaway winner, for folks who tuned in, drum roll, our winner of the special River's Edge book bundle is the user Carol Loves Books.
Hi, Carol.
Carol, I love your username. That's perfect. So congratulations, Carol. I think you're in for a very wonderful treat. For to receive your giveaway bundle items, just go ahead and send an email to giveaways@itsbookishtime.com with your mailing address, and we will get that over to Nan, so we can get that on out. So again, congratulations. And Nan, congratulations to you on the release of Home to River's Edge. This series, again, it's just it's wonderful, and I'm so excited to keep learning more about the Weaver sisters and to see what else is in store for River's Edge. So thank you so much for spending your time with us today and for having a bookish moment with us.
Thank you so much. I had a great time talking to you both. And Jim, I'll see you on Thursday. Or JC, I'll see you on Thursday.
I will be there. And hey, before everyone goes, Nan, just want to let you know that Jenny, thank you for chiming in, says she is so excited for the next 2 books. So there you go.
Delightful. Thanks, Jenny.
Perfect.
I appreciate that.
Well, everyone, for those of you who joined us live, thank you very much for spending a moment with us today. If you are watching after, we appreciate you and your view. Make sure that you like and subscribe so that you can stay connected to all things bookish. And until we see you again, happy reading, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks.